So, so Winston Churchill said, when you're going through hell, continue. When you're going through hell, continue. The way forward is the way through. When we're traveling through hell, it is important not to camp there. Don't pitch a tent. Don't lay a foundation. Don't buy a condo. Don't set down roots. Don't enjoy the view. While you're going through hell, continue. Continue. It's not the place to take up residence. You know, sometimes things suck, you know? Sometimes life is a little less than what we wanted, you know? And this faith tradition does not guarantee you that once you come to it, nothing bad will ever happen to you ever again. I'd like it to, but it does not guarantee that. We are not a faith tradition of wishful thinking and fantasizing. That's not what we're about. Denying. You know that story about the priest, the rabbi, and the religious scientist who died and went to hell, you know? And so the rabbi asks the priest, "What are you doing here?" And the priest goes, "Cheeseburger on a Friday afternoon. Don't talk." And so the priest asked the rabbi, "Well, what are you doing here?" And the rabbi went, "Ham sandwich, you know." And so they both turned to the religious scientist and they said, "Well, what are you doing in hell?" And the religious scientist said, "I'm not here." You know, this is not our teaching. We're not about denying, you know, the facts. We're not about denying the facts of where we are. We are about holding to the greater truth. We're about holding to the greater truth. We are a faith tradition not of denial and wishful thinking and fantasizing. We are a faith tradition of growth, of expansion, of self-actualization. And things happen in our lives. Unexpected things happen in our lives. Negative things happen in our lives. Setbacks happen in our lives. And it is our responsibility to lean into the negative and lean into the bad stuff, what would we call bad stuff, whatever we want to call it, and get from it what we need to get from it so that we can move forward. The way forward is the way through. We can't learn anything if we're busy running away from the things we don't want. If we're busy running from half of the experiences in our lives, they have something to tell us. Sometimes our greatest source of growth is found in the negative experiences of life. That's why they say in the middle of the word growth is ow. Because sometimes it doesn't feel good. But maybe there's something there for us. Maybe it has something to tell us. You know, the Eastern traditions, Buddhism we suffer. They acknowledge it, you know. In Hinduism, they have Kali, the goddess of destruction, Ganesh, the remover of obstacles. They get that there is the darkness and the light, that there is a balance. And I think sometimes in the West we try to deny that. We run toward pleasure and we try to avoid pain at all costs. You know, we try to have all springs and summers but no falls and winters. And life is a cycle. There are patterns at play in our life. There are springs and summers, and there are falls and winters. There is a time to reap and to harvest and to lay waste the lands and to burn everything that isn't utilizable and to let it go. And sometimes we have problems with that. We want all springs and cycles. We only want half the cycle, springs and summers. But we cannot live our lives and avoid half of our experiences. Our soul is calling for experience. Our soul's not really interested in perfection. The soul's not interested in happiness. The soul is calling for us to experience all of life. All of life. What we would call the challenges also. It is calling for experience. It's calling for connection. Not necessarily perfection. You know? And when we experience it, we learn from it. When we lean into the pain and the discomfort, we grow as a result. When our buttons get pushed, we realize there's something there that we need to know. something there we need to know. When my button gets pushed, who's got the problem? I do. When my button gets pushed, I'm the one that has the problem. You know that old expression of, you may have pushed my buttons, but you didn't install them? You didn't install them. They've been there for years. Maybe I had them with me ever since I was a child. So somebody pushes my buttons, it's like it is up to me to go within. Take a look. What is it calling me to know? What is it calling me to heal? What false belief, what false perception, what fear is it calling my attention to so that I can heal it? Whatever it is that takes us out of that holy instance is worthy of prayer, is worthy of our attention. There is a false belief, there is a fear, there is something going on that when we get triggered, it's pointing us to a place where we are not seeing the truth of our own divinity. It is pointing us to a fear, perhaps that we doubt if the universe is really, really, really supporting us. Or we're afraid that it isn't. It is my responsibility when my buttons get pushed to go within and to find out what that false belief is. Find out what that fear is. Find out where I am not seeing the truth of the situation or the other person or whatever it is. It's my job to heal what's going on inside of me. Because when we run from it, we can't grow. We just run from it and ignore it. I'm not here and it's not hot, Metaphysician in hell. There's no growth there. There is no growth there. Oprah Winfrey said this. She said, "The thing you fear most has no power. Your fear of it is what has the power. Facing the truth will really set you free. Your fear of it that really has the power." So we have to confront that fear, and we have to go through it. The way through, the way forward is the way through. It is the only way. When we lean into it, we have to learn from it. We have to be willing to be uncomfortable. So you uncomfortable yet? You will be. We have to be willing to be uncomfortable to grow. We have to press on through to find what's there for us, to find that gift that it has. Pema Chodron is a Buddhist nun, and she said this. She said, boss, co-worker, spouse, roommate, mother, father, child, who are the people you really dislike and would wish would simply go away? Be grateful to them. They are your own special gurus, showing up right on time to keep you honest. It's the troublemakers in your life who cause you to see where you have shut down, where you have armored yourself, where you have hidden your head in the sand. If you didn't get angry at them, if you didn't get fed up at them, you would never be able to cultivate patience. She goes on to say, if you didn't envy them, if you weren't jealous of them, you would never think to stretch beyond your own mean-spiritedness to rejoice in their good fortune. If you never met your match, you might think you were better than everybody else and arrogantly criticize their neurotic behavior rather than doing something about your own. So your buttons get pushed. Big deal. What is your reaction? Your buttons get pushed. That is your spiritual practice. Your buttons get pushed. It's calling you to find out what the false belief is, to find out what the fear is, to find out what the limiting belief is so that you can heal it. That is our spiritual practice. We're on a lifelong quest to dismantle our buttons. It's what we do. Now, I mean, we have free will, we have choice. We can go blame everybody else. You know, that person pissed me off, and that person's a whatever, and you know, the guy on the freeway, and whatever, and just keep blaming everybody out there around us. But it's not going to get us where we want to go. It's not going to get us to healing. It's not going to get us to wholeness. It's not going to get us to that self-actualization of ourselves as the divinity that we are. All it's going to do is it's going to keep all your problems out there. And if that person would change, and that person would change, and this situation would change, and my job would change, my boss would change, I'd be happy. And we know that that's not the truth. We can blame others all we want. But it's not going to change the situation, because you know what? Did you ever get the same boss every single job you changed? Just keep getting them. It's just a different face, a different eye color, a different height, but it's always the same person until you heal what's inside, until we heal what's inside of us. And then somebody new comes in because we've given permission, because we learned what we needed to learn from that. We healed our own consciousness around it. And then we free up our life to change. We can't heal it, we can't change it. If we can't heal it, we can't heal it if we don't know it, if we don't admit it, if we don't see it, if we ignore it, if we deny it, if we're not here and it's not hot. We can't change it. The healing always happens in the consciousness of the self. The healing always happens in the consciousness of the self. There is no out there, out there. There's only one of us in this room. There's only life. Ernest Holmes said this. He said, talk to yourself, not to the world. There is no one to talk to but yourself, because all experiences take place within. Conditions are the reflections of our meditations and beliefs and nothing else. And the conditions always change. How do they change? Why do they change? They change because we change them, because we change our consciousness around them, and it frees them up to transform. It frees us up. So we're all electricians here, going about the business of dismantling our own little wiring, our own buttons. And now by the same token, we can push other people's buttons, can't we? Yes, we can, and we do. And I'm not saying we do it on purpose. Once we're in relationship with people, it just happens. We're just showing up being us, they're showing up being them. We push other people's buttons, absolutely. Sometimes we can light people up like that, right? and then it's up to us to hang in there, isn't it? It's up to us to hang in and be responsible for our side of it. And when we push somebody's buttons and they go all, on us, then it's our responsibility to lean into it again and say, tell me more. How does that feel? Right? We push somebody else's buttons, man, we light them all up, and they're going all medieval on us. And then it's our responsibility to lean in and say, tell me more. Tell me more about that. Tell me more about that. Why? Because you know what you're thinking on the inside? This has nothing to do with me. This has nothing to do with me. It's like we could go, you know what? We should make little cards out like that. We should make little we should make little signs. And on the outside it would say, tell me more. And then on the inside it would say, this has nothing to do with me. So you could hold it up to people and you could, right? It would be great. You could hold it up to people and say, tell me more. And on the inside you could be just seeing this. This has nothing to do with me. This has nothing to do with me. Because it doesn't. It doesn't. It's their button. They get to do the work. They get to heal their own stuff. What's his name? I can't remember. I'm sorry, I forgot. Gardner, John Garner said, if you have respect for people as they are, you can be more effective in helping them become better than they are. This is one of the gifts to being in relationship. Sometimes my buttons get pushed. Sometimes it's your buttons that gets pushed. But when we are in relationship with each other, we take responsibility for our side of the street. Was this my stuff or is this your stuff? Oh, it's clearly my stuff. I'm the one who got all lit up. I do the job of rewiring my own buttons. But when it's your stuff that gets all fired up, I hold my sign. I hold my sign up. Tell me more. And I know this has nothing to do with me. And then the healing occurs, and look at that. We've rewired your buttons. And this is what we do for each other when we hang out in community, when we hang out in conversation with each other and we inquire. This is the healing of being in spiritual community. We help each other out. We help each other forward by going through the conversation. Ernest Holmes said this. He said, somewhere along the line, we're going to have to find a faith greater than all of our doubts and all of our fears and all of our uncertainties. Somewhere along the line, we must find a love greater than animosity, a peace beyond our confusion. This is the pathway we're all secretly seeking, whether we know it or not. We are being guided by a loving intelligence, which evermore seeks to bring us comfort and goodwill, happiness and success, health and abundance. Not just for ourselves. It's a great place to start, because that's where we have to start, in our own consciousness. But it's more about how we are in the world, because it goes beyond us. I change my consciousness, I change the outpicturing in my own little world. And then I become a point of light, and then things start changing around me, because it extends from me. And then people around me become inspired, and then their little lights are shining. And then they do their work, and then they bring that home, and then their families get all lit up. First you push their buttons. You know, they said, who was it that said, the truth will set you free, but first it'll piss you off? I think it was Terry Cole Whitaker, I'm not sure. But it's true, right? I mean, you go home, you shine your little light at home, and then, you set off a whole bunch of people. You're pressing their buttons, and you're not doing it on purpose, but it stimulates the conversation. And then when they're all upset at you, you lean in and you say, there you go. Tell me more. Tell me more. Because it's not about you. And then you transform those people around you. And then you go to work and you're awake at work. And so when someone says, when this didn't get done and it's all your fault, you lean in and you say, tell me more. Tell me more. This is not about me. Right? And you heal that situation. And you go around in different parts of your life and you heal those situations. And then what happens is you start transforming the people at work. And you start transforming the people at the dry cleaners. And you start transforming the people at the supermarket. Why? By your presence in it. Your presence in the situation is the healing in and of itself, because you're clear, because you're transformed. You give permission for people all around you to transform in your presence, and that's what we're doing here. That's the truth of who we are. We are transforming the world one consciousness at a time. Ours, and then those people around us, and then those people around them, at home, at work, on the freeway, at the university, wherever. We are the instruments of God's peace. We are the instruments of God's love, and little by little, we change the world. We change the world. Ernest Holmes said, humankind does not face an eternal struggle against some external force that desires our downfall. The only struggle, the only battle, the only thing that needs to be overcome is our own ignorance, our own lack of awareness and recognition of the beneficent activity that is the source of all things. And we should never doubt the validity of our own considered judgment in such manners. There are no prophets other than the wise. Amidst the din and uproar of our lives, the accumulated fear and doubt and confusion of the ages, there has always been and will always be that still small voice that seeks to proclaim itself through us. Life has given us, all of us, everything we could desire. It is up to us to decide and discover for ourselves what the nature of life is and accept it. The way forward is the way through. It is about embracing all of life. Like Byron Katie says, loving what is, the positive and the negative, and finding the gift in every moment of life. Allowing the soul to experience the highs and the lows, the positives and the negatives, the light and the darkness, and to find the gift in each and every moment. Because when we know ourselves, when we've dismantled our buttons, then we are the light for others, and we can transform the world. When we are awake and aware and grounded in the truth of who we are, we give permission to the people around us to shine and to transform and to heal. And that's what we're doing in this spiritual community, and that's what we do in the world, and that's what we do at our jobs, and that's what we do with our family. We give people permission to heal and to shine and to grow and to transform their lives. Thank you.